Gaffer, the last time we sat down with each other, it was in Spain. You'd had a month in the job as manager. You've now experienced a month of competitive football in the league and the cup. How has it been for you?
Yeah, really enjoyable. I look now at the group together collectively, the staff and the players, the whole football club. We've come a long way in a short period of time. In my time at the football club, I think there's real direction now from Carol and Kevin of how they want the club to progress and how they want it to look. We're all on the same page. We're all part of the same plan, and long may that continue.
You said when it happened. We're going to talk about it. That the first game of the season, it wasn't how anybody would want the season to start, let alone your first game as a manager. However, you said at the time it's about how you come away from this, and it's about what you learn. And sit here now with 7-8 games unbeaten after that, it's some way to kind of look back at going, we have actually worked and we've used it, and it's a consistent reminder, because we get reminded by external press all the time, and it's one of those that will keep coming up for as long as it does. Yeah. But for you, after that game, what was your thoughts, your kind of walking away from it? How did you cope with it, really?
It was a big test of myself and how I reacted to that, and then what I transmitted then to the rest of the group. I think if I would have shown any sign of panic and over emotion, that would have transmitted to everyone else, and we were such a new group that may be the first sign they would have looked at me and thought, oh, not sure about this. So I tried to take the emotion away from it, and look at the game in its own context, and the goals in particular in their own context, and came in on Monday morning and writ things in my book about what I thought I needed to do, and we went over the game like we do every single game, like we've done this morning from last night's game. We went over it, the good and the bad, the things that we needed to learn from. I had conversations with individual players, but the response is down to the whole football club. It was one game, it was a disappointing result, obviously, but the response from the whole football club has been really good. And obviously I'm working amongst the staff and the players every single day, and I see what collectively we've built already in such a short period of time.
And those relationships are key to what goes out on the pitch, aren't they? Because away from the pitch, it's easy to build a kind of an opinion on a player, on a staff member, but it's what we actually don't see behind the scenes, the relationships that are being built between the staff and the players that are consistent throughout the week.
I think it's the biggest part of the job, then I've got to be honest, to try and manage each individual within the group that obviously I'm in charge of, and getting to know them as people first and foremost, and what's going on in their lives, good and bad, because it's not all rosy for everyone. So yeah, I've tried to make that a big part of my job, working with the individuals and trying to bring the group closer together in a variety of ways. And you've seen some things we've done, and we have to continue to do that to make the group get even stronger and better, and more together.
Does it help you that this is almost a new group for this season? There's very few players that have stayed from the past season. It's their first time at Port Vale. It's your first time as a manager. Yeah. You've got the experience in and around. But is that an important part of it? Because it's almost like you're taking on this journey collectively together for Port Vale.
Yeah, I think there's a few players left from last season, and they're here for a reason, because I wanted them to stay here. So. And every player what's come in, I've explained to them right at the start what I was looking for and how I was going to manage them. I've spoke about trust and honesty and feedback, good and bad, and what I want from them. So that's been clear right from the start. Yeah, and that honesty will continue.
And being hands-on with the recruitment side of it, I'm guessing that helps as well, because you get to put your stamp on it straight away. It's a player which is moulded in what you want to see from a footballer for Port Vale.
Yeah, we learned so much last season from our first season in League One, and then we almost had a blank canvas then at the end of the season of what we wanted to do. Players who were coming to the end of the contract, who I wanted to replace and bring in a different profile. So obviously negotiations between myself and the football club when they wanted me to become the manager. What am I then looking for, and what do the football club want as well? So that's been a big part of the recruitment, recruiting for a style of play, a consistent style of play, not a consistent formation, but about the key principles that we want from the football team. And one example last night, that the players who played the full game last night, they ran 2K more than last season's team. So if you add that up, each individual, we covered more than 10k last night, more, and that's just in one game. So that was a big part of it, becoming more athletic, becoming fitter. The lads have mentioned now that the intensity of training, there's no day off, it's 100%. If we're out there for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter, you have to be at it. 4 players trained this morning, the captain and the vice captain. They trained, and their level was brilliant this morning, and they're the standard bearers. Your senior players, Nathan, Funds, Jason Lowe, Jason Lutweiler, Connor Grant, Ben Garrity, they're the ones that I'm looking at every single day. Alex Jakoviti, that I look at and think, I want you to lead this session. I want you to get this session and drive it, because it's easy for coaches, and I think if you're just hearing a coach's voice demanding more, it almost becomes monotonous. And I've asked those guys, listen, I want you to be the standard bearers, and they've been that.
You mentioned there the captain and the vice captain, new vice captain, new captain this season. That's an important 2 roles, isn't it, as part of that? You said that the leadership team of the more senior players, they take an active role, but those 2, the captain and the vice captain, they are the people that fans actively look at as well, and what are they doing on the pitch, what are they doing off the pitch. And just talk to us about Nathan Smith and Funso Ojo, because I think this season as well, we've seen a lot more on the pitch from Funso than I think, and he's held his hand up and said, this is, I'm getting there. It's got to be massive for you to have those 2 constantly firing on all cylinders.
Well, I think Nathan's time at the football club has been over a long period of time. I think he's someone who trains every single day, who's 100% committed to this football club. It's without question. I think he's improving. Again, through my conversations with him, I told him what I wanted from him, what I needed to show from him. Big test for him after the first game of the season. First game as captain, you get pumped 7-0. The players are going to be looking at you as well. So you've got to come in on Monday morning and you've got to galvanise the group as well. So yeah, that's what he's done. And Funds has obviously been here last season. Some really good moments within it, an injury, but I think he's grown. I think he's taken on more responsibility. I think his level of performance in the initial stage of the season has been really good. He could have left. He had an offer to leave the football club, and it's something that we looked at. But I'm really thankful that he decided to commit his future to the football club. He's in incredible condition for someone of a 32-year-old, and again, he's one of the drivers.
I think we said at the time when the announcement of Funso, he did press almost the day after it was announced. And is it testament to what's been built in and around the club that he could have gone elsewhere to potentially be more competitive elsewhere, but he sees something at this club that he's enjoying what's being built here, he's enjoying the surroundings.
I think he also sees what the future, how we want it to look. I think he looks at things what are happening in and around the football club, in and around the group of players, and he's excited about what we could possibly do. So, yeah, he's going to be a big part of that. And when a player of his stature and his age commits the long-term future of the football club, it sends out some really good signals.
We mentioned there the senior players beforehand. Let's talk about some of the younger players that are coming, specifically the ones that are coming on loan, because we're using the loan market much different than the club has ever used it before. Yeah. We've got loan players now that are currently with England. Alfie Devine, who was with the first team recently. Josh Thomas, who's with the Wales under-21s, and Ollie Arblaster as well. Yeah. Those lads have really taken the club to heart, and the fans have taken them to heart as well, haven't they? It was a very quick transition of going, yeah, they're loan players, but there are loan players, and it must be heartwarming to see that happen.
I think a couple of things, Dan. I meant to say this after to the press last night, but those 3 players are all away at this moment in time. All 3 of those players were on the group chat yesterday, wishing everyone good luck. They're away representing the countries. They've got a busy schedule. I know what it's like, and they've taken the time to send out a message. You look at Alfie's reaction to scoring the penalty on Saturday. The first person there with him is Josh. The guys have bought into what we've wanted. Again, influenced by the senior players. But like you say, we have looked at the loan market slightly different. We've tried to bring in a different quality, but also a different type of person. I don't think we were as successful as we could have been with that last year, and these 3 guys are different. And Kofi makes his first start last night. Kofi was on standby for his senior team as well, so we've got some really good young loan players, but again, they have to look at the senior players and what are we demanding, and ultimately that they will follow that lead then.
Every game you go into, and you say this again in press, you said it just before, everything's 100%, if not 110%. Does that help when you're speaking to the likes of Swansea, Sheffield United, Tottenham Hotspur, Crystal Palace, when they want to send players out on loan? Because there's nothing that beats getting competitive men's football, and it's not a case of we've got some under-21s games or we've got some trophy games that they could go into. Yeah. It is every game is treated exactly the same, whether it's in the league, in the cup, in the trophy. Does that make that conversation easier? Does it?
Probably not at the start, then I've got to be honest, because there was no evidence of what our team was going to look like. It was conversation, and there was Zooms, and you're presenting to people and you're trying to explain what the inside of the football club looks like, and then trying to influence and say this is what we want the football to look like. They might have looked after the first game of the season and thought, what are you on about? But no, listen, the longer that goes and their parent club see the game time they're getting, the exposure, the learning that they're going to get, that will hopefully have a knock-on effect for future windows as well, when teams at that level look at the players we've had previously, we've now got, and think, well, those guys have gone to Port Vale, they've not renegated on what they said, they've backed it up, they've given the game time, they've given that development, they've supported them when they've had down times as well, and hopefully that will influence other clubs.
How do you reflect on the month of August in overall, your first full proper month, so to speak, with games and competitive football, the ins and outs of football that we don't get to see, but how do you reflect on it from your own point of view?
I think we've come a fair way. Again, I have to say that Monday to Friday, I see a group of people who've got 100% trust in each other, staff and players. We want to get better. There's so much we have to get better at, individually and collectively, and that's the focus. Those 6 games have gone now. Those cup games have gone. They're in the past. They're in the history. We've learned so many things from them, and we want to try and be better going forward.
We're sat in the Hammerland, and this year this has been filled with home fans. Yeah. The away fans have been just as incredible as the fans sat in this stadium as well. Yeah. There's a real connection this season that I think we've seen hints of, we've seen drops of, but between the players, the staff, the fans, there is a real connection like no other. Yeah. For you to be stood in front of them, and we've seen you a few times celebrate with the fans, which the fans have loved. We've loved in the media, obviously, but they've been a massive help, haven't they? Even from game one right to now, they've been a massive help for the team and for yourself.
I think they see a team who are trying the best out on the pitch. I think they see a team who are giving 100%. It helps when you're winning, obviously, but again, at the end of every single game, we can't guarantee we're going to get positive results all season, but we can guarantee some things, and that we'll run around, we'll sweat, we'll try our best, and then we have to show our appreciation of the fans for a number of reasons. It's challenging to be a football supporter of any club. But ours have come out in numbers and backed the players. That they've seen a team who've appeared here 4 times this season and been successful. So long may that continue. I hear new songs being sung for individual players, and I think that's great. I've not heard it much in my time here, and I think some of the lyrics are really good. The lads are talking about it, laughing about it. So I think the more we can. The more successful we can be, obviously that helps, but I think we need to keep driving that connection, and when the fans are singing about individual players, it's really good.
Giving fans new experiences as well, because it's been a while since we were in the third round of the Carabao Cup. A tie against Sutton, another home tie as well, which means you've got the fans behind you once more for a team that have got to travel quite a distance on a Tuesday night.
It's important that the team are behind us, the fans are behind us. I think there's going to be moments this season when we really need them to support us. And it's going okay at this moment in time, but we're going to need them in every single game. And yeah, a Tuesday night game to look forward to against Sutton in the third round of the Carabao Cup. We've not been in it for a while, and we want to progress to the round 4, obviously.
And we come into this weekend with no game. That's an unusual feeling at Port Vale. We don't normally get international breaks off, but that doesn't necessarily mean the work stops, because there's work continuing behind the scenes. As we can see right now, there's work going on the pitch to make sure it's the best it can possibly be. Yeah. Is that the part of football you love as well? The fact that there might not necessarily be, but there's always stuff that you can get your teeth stuck into as a manager.
There's always something going off, Dan. So I was up at watching the academy on Monday night up at Kiel, the under-9s all the way through to the 16s, and there's some amazing work going off. The pitch is looking excellent. It's credit to the ground staff. There's so many people doing a really good job at the football club. It is unusual for us to have a weekend off, so the lads will take advantage of that. But say we've been back in this morning, a small number of people have trained and some have recovered, and we go again tomorrow.
Hopes for the next month before we sit down with you again?
Just to keep getting better, to keep progressing, to keep improving.